Stress. You have stress. I have stress. We all have stress. Some of us have anxiety, uh, recurring anxiety, ongoing anxiety, situational depression, ongoing depression. A lot of people in our community, you will not be surprised to know, to learn, often struggle with post-traumatic stress. And a lot of those mental health issues, mental health concerns can sometimes have tangential correlations. I'm using big words today. Can sometimes be connected with the physical. You know, a lot of people feel better when they exercise or they get a massage or whatever. Some of it is just mental, some of it's just physical, and some of those things just play together, I think. I'm not a physician. I'm not a psychiatrist. So I don't really know what I'm talking about any of that, which is why I need to stop speculating and dive right in to introducing our subject matter expert for today. See, here's the deal. If the VA worked the way it was supposed to work, we wouldn't have the issues that we have right now in our community. It works in a lot of ways. I personally have been very satisfied with my VA healthcare. But there are a lot of people that are in greater needs, either physically or mentally, than I, that don't get the help they need. And some of them suffer, some of them pass away, some of them take their lives. It's not a mystery. This is not a this is a fact, a problem in our community. Our community members, and not just the service members, not just the combat veterans, but you also include spouses, caretakers, surviving dependents. All of those people have mental, physical scars of some degree. They have a need that's going unfulfilled by, in many cases, traditional medicine, the traditional forms of support. Some people need medication. Some people need mental health support. Some people need a combination of both. Some people need something else. Some people swear by things that 10 years ago, people would have been like, what are you talking about? That's witch doctor nonsense. Are you kidding me? You read that out of the back of a National Enquirer? Crystal healing? What? Deep whatever that thing, the brain massage thing. There's all these things that 10 years ago people would think, what on earth are you doing trying to help somebody this way? But we're starting to realize and starting to learn that even though a lot of these methods to provide the mental health support and some of the physical needs support, a lot of these methods are non-traditional. Some of them have their roots from thousands and thousands of years ago, but they're not like traditional Western medicine. But that doesn't mean that they're less worthy or they don't need to be explored, because they absolutely do. This is why we brought Gail in. And if you read in the show notes, this is really interesting to me. This is something that I know absolutely nothing about. And I heard about this, and I heard about the work that Gail is doing to help people who are trying to overcome stress, anxiety, post-traumatic stress, and depression and anxiety that happens sometimes as a result of post-traumatic stress. The work that she's doing to help people treat pain, PTSD, and addiction, which runs rampant in our community, through, of all things, auriculotherapy, which is your ear reflexology. I had never heard of it before, but the more she talks, the more I'm like, man, this is something I got to check out. Like I said, 10 years ago, if you would have mentioned acupuncture to me 20 years ago, people would be like, you want to stick what? You want to do what with me? You want to poke me with what? Are you kidding? But we see it now as a very viable method of providing people the support that they need to have a healthy, holistic picture of wellness. And it's not the cure-all for everybody, but some people need it. And this is why we're going to talk to Gail today about ear reflexology, or auriculotherapy. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I hope that even if the ear stuff may not resonate with you, and I hope it does, because I'm going to investigate it a little bit more myself. But even if that doesn't resonate with you, I hope that it would open your mind up to a whole wide range of non-traditional and homeopathic and whatever, you name it, not cures necessarily, but therapies and ways to manage that stress. Really want to open your mind. It's Health and Wellness Month at the Wisconsin Veterans Chamber of Commerce, and we're doing it the right way. Here's a really loud bumper video. The shorter video is great, but it gives me just a little bit less time to just like down coffee before I introduce the guest. We have a comment here. Tyler, he's watching on Facebook. Facebook gets the first comment award. Congratulations, Facebook. Tyler says, I just got out of my acupuncture appointment with consistency. It helps immensely. I've never done it. Tyler, I'd love to hear more. And I know we're due for a catch up. It's been quite some time, man. It's really good to hear from you. If anybody else have questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, whatever, throw them in the comments, whether you're watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or today for the first time, Twitter. Good grief. If you're on Twitter right now watching, I don't even know how it's showing up. Are you hearing it? Are you seeing it? Is it just like, is it dictating all of my words into like a giant tweet thread? I don't know. We're figuring it out as we go, but I appreciate you being here. Anyways, introducing our good friend, Gail. Gail, how are you today?
I'm really good. How are you?
I am really well. Gail, I'm super interested in this, and help me out. Your last name is pronounced Vella, correct?
Correct.
And your business is called Compassionate Reflexology. Is that right?
Yes, it is. And I started that in 2012 after,
2012.
yes.
And okay, so I did my homework. Compassionate reflexology. It's 10 years old. So 10 years ago, you started working with people's ears or feet, or what? How did you get? What brought you? How did your journey take you to 2012 and opening a business that specifically is dealing with reflexology? And probably should also ask, what is that?
Well, thank you. Thank you again for allowing me to be here and share
Mhm.
my passion. In the 70s, I found a book about reflexology and I thought, why don't people do this? There's no bad side effects. They press points on feet and hands and faces and ears. And it was really a challenge to find someone. Well, years passed, kids happened, all this other good stuff. And there was a time in my life where I had some trauma. I lost my brother, my
Mm.
job, and my dog all within 3
Oh,
weeks of each other, and it was one of those throw your hands up in the air moments saying, "All right, what am
oh,
I supposed to do now?"
yeah. And what next? My goodness, I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
and that was kind of a trauma. It was definitely a
Yeah,
trauma in my life.
absolutely.
And I had met a woman a few months before who had does reflexology, and she said, "You know what? If you go to school, I'll hire you in my clinic." And I thought, "Oh, okay." So I had become a yoga teacher
Hmm.
about 6 years before that. And I studied laughter yoga and arthritis foundation exercises. And when I had the opportunity to study reflexology, it just so happened that all this stuff happened in April. And in May of that same year, an instructor was coming up from Ohio and was doing a class in Wisconsin.
Hmm.
And I thought, "Oh my gosh, this is so miraculous." So I went to school and studied. I studied in Milwaukee. I studied in Minnesota, went to Ohio, went to Chicago. Recently, I've gone to school at the Seattle School of Reflexology.
Okay.
And there's actually a school in Belgium, Wisconsin as well called A Ray of Hope. And she's really my mentor.
Okay.
And so reflexology is an art and a science that deals with the principle that there are reflex points on your feet, hands, face, and ears that correspond to all organs and parts of your body. And when a body is stressed, just think about it. We get tight. We tighten over our arteries, our veins, our nerve endings, as well as our energy meridians.
Hmm.
And when we can work on these areas, we can bring our body into something called homeostasis or balance.
Hmm.
And that's really what we can strive to do is be in balance because we can't help the things that we've seen in life or anything has thrown us off of our center. But
Mm.
if there's ways by just using fingers and thumbs to help bring your body back into balance, I think it's pretty cool.
Right on. So you've been doing that, and is it just like you're pushing or massaging or putting pressure upon or rapidly punching or like what? How do you engage those specific points, or is it different for each point?
It's a little different for each point. So on the feet themselves, there are over 14,000 nerve endings.
Mm,
And we just use our fingers to press these areas and go over very tiny areas at a time, looking for something that we call adhesions. So, if
mm,
you think of your circulatory system, you've got this wonderful heart that sends your blood through all these areas. And if you think of your feet, that's really the farthest away from your heart.
mm, mhm,
And at the end of our arteries and veins, we have capillaries. They're very fine hair-like features that allows that blood to go from one to the other back through the heart.
mhm, mhm,
When we find places in our feet, for me to feel, it can feel anything like, a grain of sand to a grain of rice
mm,
to a split pea. When people report what they feel, it can feel like a zing or a sharpness. Reflexology is not massage. There is a big difference. We are looking for specific points that refer to a certain body, generally a little more muscular in the style.
mm.
Reflexology is not lightweight, unless, of course,
Sure.
you're working on babies, in which case it truly is.
People do reflexology on babies?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I just finished a Zoom call with my instructor from Manchester, England, and
Mm,
she taught us baby reflexology when I was in Seattle about a month before COVID happened. And it's very lightweight, but it also works with people who are at the end of life. You really
mm.
you want to help people do what they need to do to move forward. However, if you have a healthy body, you want to get in there and you want to help them make the rest of their life the best of their life.
So it is either pain mitigation or preemptive, preventative health stuff. So what happens when you press one of these pressure points? What's the result? How does this, not massage, but how does this focused engagement with these pressure points, how does that, I could see it physically relieving stress, but like what's the translation between that and say anxiety, post traumatic stress, addiction, or is that just something that's not known?
Well, reflexology can help a host
Mhm,
of maladies, shall we
mhm,
say.
mhm,
It's not just for one thing or another, but when the body is relaxed, when so we have this thing in our body called the vagus nerve. It's the longest nerve in our body and it feeds all of our organs and glands except the bladder. And when this vagus nerve, when we have our sympathetic nervous system that sets off that
mhm,
fight,
mhm.
flight, or freeze moment where we feel that we can lift a car off of a person or run away from a tiger.
Sure.
This perception, this stress, our perception is our reality. And someone
Right.
who might see a spider walking across the floor might just take a piece of paper and get that spider out of there, whereas someone else might go, "Oh, it's a spider."
Yeah.
In which case, your sympathetic nervous system is set off. When that happens, the blood starts pumping, it goes to your brain, it goes to your muscles, and you're ready to rock. However, there are other systems in your body that kind of take a back seat. So your digestive system slows down, your reproductive system slows down, as well as your immune system.
Mm,
And so when we're in a state of tension, all those other areas are kind of taking a back seat.
Sure.
And that doesn't mean we're in balance and we're not feeling our best, because believe it or not, studies have shown that 70 to 80% of illnesses are caused by stress. And if
Mm.
we can find a few ideas, a few ways to help get rid of this stress, like I said, the goal is to make the rest of your life the best of your life. And so by using your fingers and thumbs to go over these areas, you help break up that congestion and you help bring the body back into balance. The health center that I'm at used to have a gentleman who was a nutritional microscopist,
Huh.
which is a $50,000 word for the blood guy. He
Okay.
looks at live blood and dried blood and can tell your state of health from this. And this man was the president. So he had done millions or thousands, I don't know how many. He had done a lot of blood tests. And I
Mhm.
had a woman who came in and I feel really blessed that she let us look at her blood. Well, whatever the level that they look at for acids in her body, it was at a level of 26. I worked on her for an hour and a half. She went to the restroom, went back to the blood guy, and her blood acid level was 4. He said that,
Wow. So after one session,
right. Now,
just immediate.
was she a typical case? I don't know.
Mm.
But what happened is that when you release acids, you might have heard about acids and alkaline in your diet.
Mhm. Mhm.
It should be more alkaline diet. Things like the things that we love, like our coffee and stuff, is more acidic. And the more alkaline our body is, the healthier we'll be. So the president, this Jeffrey, had said the only thing in his career that he had seen that reduced acid levels that much in a human body was something called chelation therapy, which is where you have an IV for like 4 hours. So
Oh, wow.
90 minutes of a little foot TLC versus 4 hours of an IV. I know what I'd choose.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So if I'm, let's say I'm a combat veteran, let's pretend I am not a combat veteran for the record. I am a vet. I have been overseas. I have not seen combat. Let me rephrase this because I don't want anybody to think I'm making claims. I'm very careful about that. Uh, let's say you have a combat veteran who comes to you and says, Gail, I'm dealing with post-traumatic stress. I have addiction issues, you know, I'm having mental health concerns, depression, anxiety. What can you do for me? Uh, is there a little bit more of an interview process? Or you're like, okay, sit down. I'm going to start doing your ear stuff, you know?
Well, first we do a health intake.
Mm,
And my first session is usually about 2 hours long. I tell people just block 2 hours out
mm-hmm,
because we need to get to know each other. We need to figure out what are some of the key things, what is in front, because our health and our conditions are like the layers of an onion.
mm,
Whatever is on the outside, that's the most prominent. So if there are, 5 things you might be working on, maybe you've got ringing in your ear, maybe you've got back pain, maybe you've got that some other things that are really pressing. But when we work on your feet, we try to work on that outer layer of the onion.
mm,
What is most prominent? So there are certain parts of your body, such as your adrenal glands. When adrenal glands, again, those are the fight, flight, or
mm-hmm.
freeze parts of our body that when our adrenaline goes, oh my gosh, we're ready to rock and we're
Yeah.
ready to lift cars off of people or run away from a tiger. As I work on a person's body or feet or ears, it is my goal to get their parasympathetic nervous system to begin taking over. Sometimes people can utilize their own bodies to get the parasympathetic nervous system in full view versus being in that fight, flight, or freeze.
Mm,
And there's actually a couple of exercises that we can do today to help reduce some of the stress and let our vagus nerve. calm our body down. And so I'm pretty excited about that. But what I would do is I would
Like do today, like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
okay,
Like
I'm ready.
I'm taking a vagus nerve class right now, and
Okay.
I've taught this particular thing 3 times,
All right.
and in 3 classes, at least one person has fallen asleep.
Can you not put me to sleep live on the show though?
Well, you might need another sip or 2 of coffee.
That I can do.
All right.
That's incredible. So if somebody's watching right now, they could do this at home, and it could potentially provide some relief to pain or stress or whatever, which is probably a good time for us to throw out the disclaimer that talk to your doctor before doing XYZ anything. This is for informative and entertainment purposes only. We are not giving you medical advice. Don't come after us. Put that in the fine print, not even fine print, put it in bold letters, like we are not liable in case anything crazy happens. But to me, this seems like a pretty safe endeavor. There's not a lot of potential harm in poking places, right?
Exactly. One of the best side effects of doing this kind of therapy
Mhm, mhm,
is hope. Knowing that there may be
mm,
possibly somehow, some way in your life that you can live life in a better setting. Maybe
mhm,
you can control those feelings when they wave because humans are resilient, but
mm,
sometimes we're buffeted about by things, be a sound or a word or a sentence that brings us back into that state where we are tense. When we can access the parasympathetic nervous system, that vagus nerve, to calm it down and bring ourselves back into balance, you can really accomplish some wonderful things. You might not yell at your family or kids or as much. Believe it or not, this even works on dogs. And you can I have a corgi puppy. He's a year and a half old and he is kind of a spaz.
Is it a Welsh or a Pembroke? It's an
It's
important
Pembroke.
distinction. Ah, okay. The less common, so it's got a big fluffy tail, right?
Actually, maybe I'm sorry. He does not have a tail.
Well,
And
sometimes they get docked. Is it the longer hair?
yes, and he's got this magnificent mane
Yep.
and our last name is Vella, so he's got this nice little V on his head, and
Oh,
he
that's
picked me
cool.
at the breeder. He picked me,
Oh.
but at a year and a half, he's kind of wild.
Mhm.
And if I work on the area in front of his ears, he just melts.
Hmm.
And if I can help a dog, oh, we can certainly help each other.
You know what? I just had a flashback to a memory that I had forgotten. Shortly after I joined the military, I had a dog and I had taken him to this puppy play thing in my local community. And there were all these dogs, and they had somebody there doing dog massage. And me and my buddy who had brought our dogs, he had a Cairn Terrier, and mine was a mutt named Bear.
Oh,
He looked like a black bear. Um, so we brought him in, and he was a little wild at that time because he was young, and not trained very well. He was rescue, at the time. And we did the dog therapy or the dog massage, and I thought it was really dumb, but I was just going with my friend or whatever. But Bear just melted. He did, and he chilled out for a little bit, which for me as the owner of a spazzy dog was like it was like a small vacation. So okay, it's funny you mentioned that. Okay. Um, do you want to dive right into trying some of this today?
absolutely.
All right.
So let's try a vagus nerve relaxer first. This is something that helps you get rid of and be more in control of the parasympathetic nervous system, which is also known as the rest and digest. So if you
Okay.
take your middle fingers
Mm.
and place them behind the hollow of your ear, if you reach back there, you can kind of feel, and you want to do both sides at the same time.
Oh, I see. Okay.
If you're flexible enough, try to bring your forearms together.
Oh boy. Me and flexible are not synonymous. All right. I think I got it.
Okay. You want this part of your thumb, if you can, to rest on your collarbone. So
Incidentally, this was my most recent glamour shots pose was kind of this.
I can see that.
All right.
So the ring finger is going to be at the front of the ear,
Okay.
right about here.
Okay. And the middle finger's still behind?
Yes.
Okay.
And your pinkies just rest wherever. So now be mindful of where your index fingers are resting. You have these cords at the back of your head. If your index fingers are long enough, you can touch that cord at the back of your neck.
Oh,
And
okay.
then your thumbs are gently resting at the base of your neck.
All right. Okay.
This is an energy balancing therapy. So it is supposed to balance your vagus nerve. Now, your vagus nerve is easily accessible through the area behind your ear. That's
Mm,
the closest area to the skin. So
okay.
when we do this, you place the tongue at the roof of your mouth
Okay.
and you breathe in through your nose. And when you breathe out, you open your mouth, keep your tongue to the roof of your mouth, and try to sound like Darth Vader. So take a breath in, tongue to the roof of your mouth, and go. And we do this 6 times. Sorry, I lost count. I was relaxing. And then you keep the fingers in the same position and you hold under your chin.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's kind of a nurture. Maybe someone you loved held you under the chin when you were a little kid.
Mhm.
It's really a common position. And again, you would do this breath again 6 times, tongue to the roof of your mouth, breathing in, open your mouth and exhale loudly.
And now am I pushing on these points
No,
firmly or
you're just resting. It's everything
okay,
is
okay.
gentle because our vagus nerve wants us to relax. And the more we are gentle with ourselves, the better it is. So again, you complete the 6 breaths and then you just let your hands rest
Mm.
and take a breath in and release. Now, do you feel a little more calm?
This so I'm like a natural born skeptic for pretty much anything. But I have to tell you, I don't know what just happened. I feel like I don't like yes, relaxed. Like I can't explain what just and like it was like breath 5. It just felt like and I still feel like it was like I just popped into a warm bath or something. That's insane what just happened.
So, your body is a miracle. And we weren't really given owner's manuals with this
Right.
body. If it would be huge. However, I feel really blessed to be a lifelong learner. And the
Yeah.
more I can share this information, I think the world can be a better place.
That alone, I'm gonna have to show that to my family. That just okay. All right. So
Awesome.
so so let's say somebody was doing this at home and they're like, whoa, okay, there's something here. Um, how do they learn more? What do they do? Do they just call and book a session? Do they have to go through insurance? Like how does somebody start this journey?
Unfortunately, insurance does not cover. And if I did, I would have to really raise my rates.
Of course, yeah.
So they can call, text, email, and I think you
I
have the
get the
email
website going across
available.
the bottom now. Yeah.
Mhm. So I have an office in Glendale that is
Okay.
my primary office, and I'd be honored to help folks. I would also consider doing more classes. So if you ever wanted to do something on the vagus nerve specifically,
Mhm.
because this is one of about 20 different exercises for accessing and balancing your vagus nerve.
Mm.
And again, this is something you don't want to do 15 exercises all in one fell swoop because you'll
Right.
probably all be asleep.
Sure.
But just to get that vagus nerve in control, some people are blessed to be able to do it with breath, like yoga
Mm.
breathing and things like that. This I find fantastic. And
Mm.
so I'm glad you had that
I'm
great.
serious. I'm not exaggerating. Like that was legit relaxing. So, how long does a session typically take? And then like if I came in, would you work on ear points or feet points, or is it just dependent upon where I carry my stress?
Because of the C word that's going on and
Mm.
running rampant and sometimes getting better,
Yeah.
I primarily work on feet.
Okay.
It's generally 90 minutes. I have this really comfy table. You take your shoes off. I will take your socks off. I have a socks warmer that's really rocks in wintertime. And
Yeah.
that's all you do is you sit on a table. You can either lay flat or we have things to prop you up. You
Hmm.
can chat if you want. If you want to just sleep, it's my goal to get 50% of my folks a day to fall asleep, and I usually meet my goal
How about
because
that?
because when the parasympathetic nervous system takes over,
Yeah.
as you felt, you can refresh your mind, your emotions, your energy.
Hmm. Hmm.
Life is meant to be lived and it's meant to be lived well. And if we
Mm.
can find little ways to help you out, if you find, or if a person comes to me and finds they might need some of these techniques, I
Mm.
have a little handout that I give them. We can practice that as well.
Right on.
It's what they're dealing with at the time that dictates what we do. Um, I will do the ears, but everybody again has to be masked
Sure.
because it's amazing. And once this affliction leaves us, face reflexology really rocks.
Face reflexology. Okay.
Yes. Yes, it is
How do you like
amazing. I
that?
learned it from a doctor. She came here from France, and it was
Hmm.
an intensive class for humans, and then I took the animal reflexology, and
Mm-hmm.
I got to work on a horse that had a problem with the back hoof. And it was the scariest thing ever because not only can a horse kick backwards, they can kick sideways.
Yeah. Yep. They sure
And
can.
I thought, yeah, I was working on a place on this horse, and he turned around, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is it. I'm going to get nailed. And he smiled. The horse smiled. It was
How do you like that?
amazing.
That's
So
so do you typically have people walk away from those sessions going like, "Wow, I had no idea, like, that you just rocked my world," whether human or horse? Do you is that your typical response then?
that's what I hope for.
Mm, mhm,
I also work with people who have had, say, cancer.
mm,
And lymphatic release is a big thing in some areas because when our lymph system gets overtaxed, and if certain people have had surgeries that actually remove lymph nodes,
mm,
they can actually feel the movement of the lymph in their body.
mm.
And it's like I said, your body's a miracle. All I'm doing is helping.
Yeah. Man, Gail, this was really educational, really cool. Very grateful for your time today. I'm gonna do that exercise some more. I got to work on being able to get my elbows together though, and I'm gonna show it to my wife and my family, and that's so cool. Any parting thoughts that you want to impart upon everybody who may be watching?
Well, we didn't really talk about the ear. So, do we have like a minute?
Yeah, let's talk
Okay.
about the ear.
So, the ear is like an upside down baby. So down here, this would be the head. This area right here
Uh huh.
is your spine line. If we wanted to work on one particular spot, that is the most amazing spot. It's called the shin min. Let me try to get this angled up.
Shin Min.
So
Okay.
it's right here. Let me mark it. And I have it marked on the big ear as well. So you can see that little blue spot. That's, oh, this is hard. Right there.
Yeah. It's okay. I see it. I see it.
So let me show you on the big ear,
Right up here. Okay.
right up here.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's hard to do it backwards.
It is. So you have this little V thing at the top of your ear. This is
Yep.
the spine line,
Okay.
and right here is the shin min line.
All right.
That is really important if you wanted to really work with the other issues.
Mm-hmm.
Right underneath this area,
Here.
that is the sympathetic nervous system,
Okay.
and that is a great point to work.
Okay.
This over here is a
Here.
liver area,
Okay.
and right sorry.
That's all right.
This is new to me too.
We've never had a show quite like this before. I love it.
The lower area is a lung area.
Oh, okay.
And right up under this ridge, let me get over there. Here we go. Right up under
Okay.
this ridge,
Mm-hmm.
oh boy, is the kidney area.
Okay.
So if you progressively press on those areas, or they have these things called ear seeds, you can put them on and press them. Keep them on for about a week or so, and it's pretty amazing.
Do those just
So
stick on?
they do. So they look like little band-aids with a seed on them. You can get
Okay.
them on your favorite place to order things, and they're very, very tiny.
Oh, like an actual seed?
Yes, it is called a Vicara seed, and you would put it on your ear and
Okay.
then press it whenever you felt stressed or tension or
Huh.
out of balance.
Okay.
And again, that shin men point is probably the best point of all.
That's incredible. I'm
So
glad I'm glad we stuck around to talk about the ear. That was super interesting. Yeah. Well, if somebody wants to learn more, oh, sorry, I thought you broke up there for a minute. What was that?
I was just going to say, this is everyone else has served in their own way. This is how I serve. And I would be honored if you ever would do this again someday, or if I can help anyone.
Right on. Outstanding. Well, thank you so much, Gail, for your time today. This is good stuff. Ask you to hang on the line for just a minute. I cannot. I'm being dead serious here. When I did that thing, and if you're listening, there's no way that you could see it. So I would encourage you to go to if you're listening via the podcast, to go on the YouTube video and see me actually doing the motions there on the front and the back side of my ear and under my chin and whatnot. I'm telling you, I got to like the fourth or the fifth big Darth Vader breath thing, and my whole body just went like, I'm a skeptic. I'm telling you, I fight. I'm like a skeptic times two. But that was incredible. I need to learn more, and I'm excited to talk to Gail some more. Get to know Gail. Look her up at greensquarecenter.com. But also just, I hope your mind is open to non-traditional forms of therapy and stress release and all those things, because when we close doors, when we close our mind to those opportunities, we're potentially closing doors on ways that we can achieve holistic wellness, right? So don't do that. Don't close doors. You deserve to be healthy and happy and have all of your pillars of wellness fulfilled. So I can't thank you, Gail, enough for joining us. And thank you, all of you. Like, I can't even get the words out right now. I'm just feeling relaxed. But we'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Appreciate you joining us.